Yo, what's up everybody? This is Marcus from the Weekly Spot back again with another video, and today I wanted to give my thoughts on the Nightwing and the Jason Todd movie, the dynamic duo, the Bane and the Deathstroke team-up movie, and also I want to give my thoughts on the actor that's cast as the villain for the Supergirl movie, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, James Gunn has announced that there is going to be a new animated movie in the works, and it's going to have a theatrical release called Dynamic Duo. And of course, when you hear that and it's a DC project, you're going to think Batman and Robin, but it's actually going to be Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. Now, the writer for this movie is going to be Matthew Aldrich, who was the same writer for Coco and Lightyear, with Arthur Mintz as a director, and this will actually be his first film, and Matt Reeves as the producer, the same guy that directed The Batman. It is confirmed that the film is not connected to Matt Reeves' Batman, but it's not confirmed whether or not it's connected to the DC cinematic universe. But I gotta say, it does sound like an Elseworld story, which I will get to that. Now, Arthur Mintz and his wife, Teresa Anderson, are the creators of an animation studio called Swaybox Studios. This studio has developed something called Momo Animation, which is a cross between a CGI animation, stop motion, and a live action real-time performance. And this Robin project will be Swaybox's first feature film. And they got a website so you can check out some of their stuff. And apparently one of the things that they did years ago was that they did a Super Bowl commercial, which was pretty cool. And there is a brief synopsis. And it says, and I quote, the film follows the early days of Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, aka the Robins. The duo calls themselves the Dynamic Duo. They're orphan thieves, best friends who share dreams of a better life, but their friendship will be tested by competing visions of a future out of which will come a new dynamic duo. Now, you see how it sounds like an Elseworld story? You know, orphan thieves, best friends. Like, it sounds like these two grew up together, because in the comics, well, at least the version that is well known, and I'm going to be brief with this. Dick Grayson was a circus acrobat, and he works with his parents, who are also acrobats, and they call themselves the Flying Graysons. But one night, a crime boss named Tony Zuko sabotaged their performance, which ended up getting his parents killed. So Bruce Wayne takes him in, and eventually he trains him to be his partner. And Dick became the first one to have the Robin mantle. But years later, Dick Grayson grew tired of his role as Batman's young sidekick, so he quits being Robin and decided to do his own thing and became Nightwing. And Jason Todd in the comics, he was a street orphan who first encounters Batman while attempting to steal the tires off the Batmobile. And Batman takes him in, and he became the second Robin. And while Dick was, a little more obedient, Jason was the rebel. And eventually, Jason Todd gets killed by the Joker, which haunted Batman, considered it his greatest failure. But then Jason Todd comes back from the dead and became Red Hood, which, he was pretty much Batman if Batman decided to kill. Now, again, that was just a brief explanation of these characters, because, there's a lot of stories, a lot of history with these two. But you at least see, the difference here, right? Like, clearly they're going to be, rewriting their origins, their stories, their history and all that in this movie. And in the comics, they do form a relationship. So I am interested to see, like, their relationship in this movie, and to see, like, how the movie builds up to these characters, eventually going to two different paths, Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing and Jason Todd becoming Red Hood. And I can't wait to see, the animation. Like, from what I've seen from this studio's website, I feel like the animation is going to be pretty epic. So moving on from one team-up movie to another, James Gunn also announced, and I found this on the Hollywood Reporter, that a Bane and Deathstroke team-up movie is in development. Now, when I saw the headline that, Bane and Deathstroke are going to get a movie, I thought that, they were going to get, like, their own solo movie, which, I thought that would have been cool, especially for Deathstroke, because there was supposed to be a Deathstroke movie set in the DCEU, or the Snyderverse, whatever you want to call it, with Joe Manganiello playing as the character, and he was also going to be in the solo Ben Affleck Batman movie. And as for Bane, I feel like a Bane solo movie could work, whether it's an origin story or maybe it takes place in the present. But then actually reading into the article and seeing that it's a Deathstroke and Bane team up movie, I'm not gonna lie, this movie, this whole team up, it does feel kind of random for some reason, but not in a bad way though, because Deathstroke and Bane are are two pretty awesome characters. So I don't like have anything a negative to say about this team up. Well, at least not yet, because we don't know anything yet. And maybe it's just me, but I tried looking up, in the comics, have these two characters ever teamed up? And I mean, I'm sure that they interacted before, but I couldn't find anything that where they actually teamed up. And again, we don't know anything, but we do have a writer, which is something. We got Michael Orton, who developed and created a show called Devil's Peak. He wrote one of the episodes for Moon Knight, episode 5, Asylum, which that was a pretty good episode. I would say, the best episode of that show. And he's going to be the writer for Captain America, A Brave New World. And much like Dynamic Duo, I'm also pretty interested in this film. Like, who's going to play these characters? What's going to be the story? Like, what's going to happen to these two characters to where they have to work together? And who's going to be like the threat of this movie? And we're also not sure if this movie is going to be set in the DC Cinematic Universe. But I guess with this and the Dynamic Duo, I guess we can assume that these two movies are. But whether or not these movies are connected, I do hope that they go for the more fantastical route and not the more grounded and realistic route. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the Dark Knight trilogy. I enjoyed the Batman, and that whole grounded and realistic tone, it does work for something like Batman. And if they do decide to go with that route with these movies, hey, if it's good, it's good. But at the same time, I feel like that tone, it does limited these characters. And I'm not saying they should stop giving us realistic Batman or like the realistic version of these characters, but maybe they should just take a break from that, because I want to see the more fantastical side of these characters. I want to see these characters go all out. Now the last thing I want to talk about is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, a movie based on the comic of the same name. And the story follows Kara Zor-El, also known as Supergirl, as she helps a young alien girl seek revenge on the people who destroyed her planet. And it's like what James Gunn said when he was explaining the movie, which is that while Superman was sent to Earth and was raised by loving parents, Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton and watched everyone around her die in terrible ways. And again, it's going to be like what James Gunn said, that she's going to be a more jaded character, and is going to be a more darker story. Which, by the way, that comic was written by Tom King, the same guy who's going to be one of the writers for the Lanterns TV series. And I want to bring this up real quick, because I didn't mention this before when I was talking about the Lanterns series. But Chris Mundy is going to be one of the writers and the showrunner of Lanterns. He was also the guy who was the showrunner for Ozark, and he executive produced shows like Criminal Minds, Cold Case, Bloodline, and True Detective season 4, Night Country. And you got David Lindelof, who was the co-creator and showrunner of the show of Lost, Watchmen, and he also co-created and was a showrunner for The Leftovers. Again, I just thought I'd bring that up real quick, but anyways, back to Supergirl. Sorry about that. So the latest news that we got from this movie, and I read this from the Hollywood Reporter, and that they got an actor to play the villain for the movie. Now, the villain of this movie is called Krem of the Yellow Hills. He is the villain in the comic, and he is a space pirate who murders one of the main characters' father, and is a member of a group called the Barbon Brigands. I don't know if I said that right, but this group apparently goes around, planet to planet, stealing treasures and murdering and torturing civilizations. Now, I have not read the Woman of Tomorrow comic, but reading about this guy, he sounds like a nasty villain. And the actor that's going to be playing him, and forgive me if I get this name wrong, but Matthias Schoenaerts. You've probably seen this guy before in the movie Old Guard. He's also been in a film called Rust and Bone, The Danish Girl, Bullhead, and Red Sparrow. And he's also been in a TV show called The Regime. Now, I've only seen this guy in Old Guard, which I thought was a really fun movie, and I thought he was cool in it. I like his relationship and the chemistry between him and the team in the movie. So I don't know, I don't really have like a problem with this casting. So far when it comes to this movie, we got the villain, we got the actor to play the villain. We got Millie Alcock playing Supergirl, who you probably know her from House of Dragons. Anna Noguera, who is going to be the writer. And she's also an actress who's been in stuff like The Vampire Diaries, the Michael J. Fox Show, Hightown, and The Blacklist. And the director is going to be Craig Gillespie. He directed movies like Cruella, I, Tonya, Lars and the Real Girl, and the Fright Night remake. So like so far, everything's sounding pretty good with this project. And I noticed that there's been quite a bit of DC news lately, which, you know, like they all sound, you know, pretty good so far. Now we just need like some of these projects to come out. The first one I'm thinking is going to be Preacher Commandos, which, you know, that looks like it's going to be a fun show. And then next year is going to be the Superman movie and the season 2 of Peacemaker. Supergirl is supposedly coming out on 2026. So far we don't have any other release dates for the other projects. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the Bane and Deathstroke team-up movie, the dynamic duo? And what are your thoughts on Matthias Schoenaerts playing the villain in the Supergirl movie? And that'll be it for this video for today. This is Marcus from the Weekly Spot. More content will be coming out soon. But until then, take care, everyone.